Since ancient times, fishermen have passed down valuable experiences on how to hunt dugongs, a gentle marine creature also known as dugongs, which live in small groups around coastal seagrass beds. Hunting them requires patience, skill and a deep understanding of the species' habits. Hunters often set out at dawn, when the sea is still calm and the light is just enough to observe the silhouettes gliding lightly under the water. Dugongs often surface to breathe after a few minutes of diving for grass, and fishermen take advantage of that moment to throw spears or use large nets to surround them. When hit, they struggle violently, their cries ringing hoarsely in the middle of the sea. But human strength, ropes, wooden rafts and experienced rowers will quickly control them. After being caught, the fish are pulled onto boats or brought to shallow areas, where the butchering begins. First, fishermen use sharp knives to make a long cut from the belly down, peeling off the thick and hard skin. The fat of the sea cow is quite abundant, pale yellow and fatty, and is skimmed off to make oil for lighting or food processing. The meat is divided into large pieces, dark red in color, tougher than normal fish meat, and is often smoked, dried, or salted for preservation. The large bones, especially the ribs, are often kept as tools, while the tusks and small bones can be crafted into decorative objects or household items. The entire butchering process takes place in an orderly manner, with each person doing their own job. From the person who cuts the meat, peels the skin, to the person who brings each part out to dry in the sun or salt. Although hunting dugongs is strictly restricted today to preserve the species, in the memories of many coastal communities, preparing boats, nets, sharp spears to coordinating well at sea, the elderly often take the role of commander, giving orders with decisive shouts, while strong young men are responsible for throwing spears, throwing nets and controlling the animal when it escapes. Sometimes it takes hours of rowing to chase the water, following the breath rising to the surface of the sea and then suddenly surrounding to corner the fish. When the dugongs are subdued, the atmosphere on the boat is both tense and joyful, because everyone understands that a large fish can feed the whole village for many days. After pulling them ashore, people light a fire, boil water, sharpen knives and start butchering. This work requires meticulousness and dexterity, because the thick skin, fatty meat and tough tendons make the knife slip easily. The master craftsman usually cuts from the neck down to the belly, then separates each large piece of meat from the bone. The best pieces of meat are often given priority for communal parties of the village, while the rest is divided equally among the households. Dugong meat can be cooked into many dishes, stewed, grilled, stir-fried or dried for later consumption, but the most popular is still salted and hung over the kitchen to create a characteristic smoke smell. Oil extracted from the fat is stored in earthenware jars, used to light up the night or as medicine according to folk experience. The thick and firm skin can be dried to make a cover or wrapping material. Every part of the dugong is utilized. Nothing is wasted. For fishermen, each successful hunt for dugongs is a testament to their bravery. talent and collective strength, and is also an essential source of life during the harsh days at sea. However, with the change of time and strict conservation regulations, hunting has gradually become a memory, remaining only in stories, in lullabies of the sea and in the pride of the old generations of seafarers. The old dugong hunting sessions were also associated with many religious rituals of coastal residents. Before going to sea, they often held a ceremony to worship the whale, burn incense and offer gifts to pray for a smooth trip, catch many big fish and return safely when a dugong is killed. Some places also have the custom of worshipping the sea god to express gratitude and ask for permission before butchering it, because they believe that dugong is closely associated with the gods, and taking its life requires respect while butchering. The sound of knives mixed with the sound of waves. The smell of fat and blood spread throughout the space. But for fishermen it was the smell of abundance. The smell of achievements after many months of drifting on the waves. The village children often gather around the cutting yard to watch the adults work, learning and eagerly waiting to taste the fresh meat. The thick slabs of meat after being cut are washed with sea water, then sorted into parts. The tenderloin is reserved for a special meal. The scraps are processed the same day, and the fattened bones are collected separately. The village women receive the divided meat, busy salting it, hanging it over the kitchen or drying it in the sun, while the men continue to skin, cut the tendons and trim the bones. Each part of the dugong's body is carefully processed, not to be wasted because each part brings practical value to life in the evenings after a successful hunt. The whole village often gathers together, grills dugong meat over hot coals, shares a cup of wine, and recounts the tense and dramatic moments when facing the giant fish in the middle of the ocean. That bustling sound echoes like a victory song, then imprints itself in the collective memory, becoming a story told to descendants as a testament to the courage, solidarity and strong vitality of the fishing communities living off the sea. Over time, stories about hunting and butchering dugongs have been passed down by word of mouth as part of the sacred memories of the fishing village. The elderly say that when seeing a dugong, the whole boat must coordinate smoothly, from the helmsman, the net thrower to the spear thrower. Just a small mistake can let the rare prey slip away. Courage is not only shown in the strength to control the giant animal, but also in the ability to withstand strong winds and waves when tracking them for miles offshore. When caught, dugongs often make a wailing sound, which reminds many people of the sound of children, creating a feeling of both pity and regret. However, in difficult times, dugong meat is a source of life, so that emotion quickly gives way to practicality. The butchering process takes place in an atmosphere that is both solemn and urgent. The butcher must have extensive experience and a good understanding of the body's structure so as not to damage the delicious meat. Each deep cut, red blood spreads out and mixes with the waves, while the thick skin is peeled off in large pieces, dried in the sun until hard and used as material. The giant spine and ribs are sometimes set up into frames, both to dry nets and as evidence of glorious feats. After the meat is divided, it is arranged into bundles and baskets, and brought back to the village by small boat. The scene of women and children cheering to welcome the returning boats loaded with spoils of war is a rare collective joy. That night, the whole village gathered around the fire, enjoying the fatty, freshly grilled meat, the aroma mixed with the sea breeze making everyone feel the warmth and fullness. Successful dugong hunts are often mentioned in festivals, in songs and chants, as a symbol of collective strength and the close relationship between humans and the ocean. Although today, dugongs have become a species that needs to be protected, the memories of those hunts and butcherings are still imprinted in the minds of many generations of fishermen, as an indelible part of their livelihood history. The presence of dugongs in the lives of fishermen in the past was not only associated with food but also had many cultural and spiritual meanings. Some villages considered the capture of a dugong a lucky omen, signaling a favorable sea season. With abundant shrimp and fish, people often kept a small part of the bone or tusk to worship in the communal house, considering it a sacred protective object. Other parts, such as fat and skin, in addition to their practical value, are also exchanged and traded with other villages for salt, rice or tools. Therefore, each successful dugong hunt not only helps the community to be well fed but also opens up opportunities for exchange, trade and connection between coastal areas. The process of butchering dugongs lasts for many hours, sometimes all day. Strong people are in charge of cutting large parts. Patient and skillful people remove tendons, divide small pieces of meat, while agile young people wash and dry the meat. Children are often assigned to collect small bones, dry them to make toys or sell to craftsmen. When the sun sets, the scene of the sand covered with blood, the red meat piled up, and the pots of fat boiling on the fire creates a special scene that is both fierce and full of life. Each person goes home with their share of meat, happy because they know that their family will be full for many days. Later, these stories became collective memories, told in village meetings or on nights sitting by the fire, so that descendants would understand that life at sea is always associated with hardship, sacrifice and the joy of victory. And although today, the dugong is on the strict conservation list, no one is allowed to hunt it, the memories of hunting and butchering dugongs still live on in the stories, as a testament to the harsh but sacred relationship between humans and the ocean according to the stories of old fishermen. Each successful dugong hunting trip is often marked as a feat of the whole village. Those who participated in the trip are mentioned with pride, because only those with good health, courage and high team spirit can together subdue this giant sea creature. Children growing up by the sea often hear their fathers and grandfathers tell and retell stories about the feeling of chasing dugongs in the midst of strong winds and waves, when the whole boat strained their eyes to follow the watermark on the sea surface, or the moment the spear pierced the fish's body. the cheers echoing throughout the space. These stories not only depict hunting techniques but also convey pride in collective strength. The process of butchering dugongs also has many symbolic meanings. People believe that the division of meat must be fair and impartial. Because dugongs are sea gifts given by the gods to the whole community, the master of ceremonies often supervises the division of the meat, ensuring that every household, from the rich to the poor, gets a share. This helps maintain social cohesion and strengthens the village spirit. Sometimes, a portion of dugong meat is given to neighboring villages as a gesture of friendship and expansion of relationships. The best meat is often served in communal feasts, accompanied by wine and the sound of drums and singing, turning the moment of butchering into a real festival. Dugong oil is stored in jars, becoming a valuable source of light on long moonless nights, while the skin and bones are carefully preserved to serve many other purposes. Through many generations, the image of red sand beaches stained with blood, baskets of meat stacked high, and jars of steaming fat have been deeply imprinted in the community's memory as a milestone of a harsh but also heroic period of making a living. Nowadays, when dugongs have become a symbol of conservation, people no longer hunt them. But that memory is still cherished as part of the cultural identity of the sea, reminding descendants of the flesh and blood bond between humans and the vast ocean. Legends surrounding the dugong also make the hunting and butchering of this species mysterious in the minds of fishermen. The elderly say that dugongs are the incarnations of gentle mermaids, who, out of pity for hungry people, offered their bodies as food. That is why before each trip, they often pray and ask for permission so that the hunting is not disrespectful. When the fish is brought ashore, some villages even perform a ritual of sprinkling seawater on its body, as a farewell to the ocean. The process of butchering dugongs takes place in a solemn atmosphere, no less than a ritual, because everyone understands that every piece of meat, every drop of fat is precious, and can feed many families through the stormy sea season. The master craftsman cut and taught the young people how to recognize which part of the meat is soft, which is tough, and which is fatty and easy to process. The sound of the knife hitting the bone, the sound of the skin being torn apart mixed with the sound of the waves, creating a scene that is both rough and sacred. The red meat is piled up, looking like rough jade under the sunlight, while the golden fat is quickly melted, giving off a characteristic pungent smell. Children run around to help, both excited and shy when touching the giant piece of meat. In the afternoon, the whole beach is lit up with fire when people start grilling dugong meat to enjoy right there. The aroma spreads far and wide, mixed with the sea breeze, making the atmosphere even more bustling. At night, the villagers gather to recount the tense moments at sea, each person telling a story, creating an endless story. It is these dugong butchering sessions that have become collective memories, associated with the image of solidarity and the ability to conquer the sea. And although today that image only exists in memory, it still reminds descendants of a time when people lived off the sea. Considering each dugong hunt a symbol of survival and courage over the years, the image of hunting and butchering dugongs has gradually become ingrained in folk tales, becoming part of the spiritual heritage of coastal fishermen. It is said that there were trips lasting weeks. The boat fleet followed dugongs to the far-off seagrass beds where they often foraged. When they caught sight of the gentle fish, the whole crew seemed to burst into energy. Each oar stroke was intense. Each shout echoed through the wind and waves to push them into the net. Those moments were filled with extreme tension, because dugongs, although gentle, have great strength. Once they struggled, they could capsize the whole boat. When they finally defeated them, joy exploded. Cheers echoed across the sea. When the fish were brought back to shore, the scene of butchering the dugong became a big event in the village. The most experienced workers used knives to cut the thick skin, revealing strands of bright red meat, while others quickly divided the meat and prepared jars to store the fat. The atmosphere was both urgent and bustling, because everyone wanted to quickly process the meat before it spoiled under the hot sea sun. The smell of kitchen smoke, salt, and grease mixed together, wafting throughout the space, evoking a feeling of fullness and prosperity. Children cheered when they got their first piece of meat, while adults quietly collected each piece to bring home to their families. The large dugong skeletons were then placed next to the village communal house or erected on the beach as proof of their achievements and to remind their descendants of the hardships of seafaring. Some places even hung dugong ribs as drying nets, both practical and symbolic of the power of the ocean. Thus, through many generations, the scene of hunting and butchering dugongs not only had the meaning of making a living but also became a part of cultural memory, depicting the harsh but close relationship between humans and the ocean. Memories of hunting and butchering dugongs still leave a deep mark on the daily life of coastal communities. Many families used to consider dugong meat a precious dish, only used on important occasions such as weddings, sea festivals or worshipping the gods. The fresh meat is often processed into soups, grilled dishes or stews, bringing a rich, sweet taste that is different from normal fish. The meat that has been dried or salted is saved for stormy months when it is not possible to go to sea, becoming a source of food to relieve hunger for the whole village. In addition to being used for lighting and cooking, dugong fat is also used by mothers as a massage oil to treat aches and pains. Creating a folk medicine value. The thick skin, after being dried and hardened, is cut into sheets to wrap tools, even to make rudimentary armor for young men going to sea. Teeth and small pieces of bone are often kept by children as lucky charms, associated with the story that whoever brings them will be protected by the sea. Therefore, the scene of butchering dugongs is not only a hard job but also has a sacred symbolism, because every part of it is closely linked to life, from meals to beliefs. When night falls, after a long day of dividing and processing, the whole village often gathers around the flickering fire, enjoying the fatty pieces of meat while telling stories about the fierce hunts on the waves. In the eyes of children, the image of Dugongs appears both fierce and legendary, a testament to the courage and ingenuity of their ancestors.